Alright, so once we have our color design created, we can go ahead and send it to our cutter. Now, we can separate this with the templates. Now, I already mirrored it, so I don't need to do that. But we can separate these with the templates if you like. Now, each one of it is going to add a little bit extra, so you're going to waste a little bit vinyl with your design. So if you want to use the templates, you can use the TRW Magic Separator, and that will separate each color for you. Or you can just go ahead and drag each color one at a time. So the good thing about when we're working with the Great Cuts 3, it makes it really easy to just bring your file over. So instead of going to either your export or your launch, you can just simply drag your cut over, hover over your Great Cuts logo, and then just drop it right in there. So once we get in here, we're just going to rotate it 90 degrees, set up our cut. We'll make our pressure at 60. We'll do our pressure at 70, our speed at 60. So we'll go ahead and read our material. So we'll click Read Material. That will give us our material width. Once we have everything set up, we'll just hit Output. Alright, so the biggest step, once we have our first color created, instead of just clicking this off or turning, just releasing these, the first thing we want to do is always hit the off and online button. So it's going to have the light on when it's on. So once we hit off, now we can go ahead and lift these up and pull out our material. So to load the next color, we'll just put that right in its place. We can use the rulers as our guidelines. Alright, so now if we need to move these at all, we can. They're fine where they are, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop those back down. I'm going to move this over just a little bit, pull my paper back, and now once I have it set, we're going to hit Origin Set, and you'll see these three lights come up. And then we're going to hit this on/offline button again. So we'll hit that, you'll see the light come back on, and now we're ready to go ahead and send our second cut over. Alright, so once we're done with our first cut, we can go ahead and choose our second cut. So it doesn't matter what order you go in, as long as you're feeding the right material in. So we can pick and choose, so let's go ahead and grab our top. Now again, everything's already mirrored for me, so if you haven't mirrored yet, just remember to do that before we send it to the cutter. So once I hover over my Great Cuts logo at the bottom, I can just drop that in. I'm going to go ahead and delete my first cut, rotate this 90 degrees, go ahead and hit my cut objects, read material. So since we lifted that up a little bit, it's going to change. So make sure you always read your material to make sure you have enough room. And then we'll go ahead and hit Output again. Alright, so it's going to be the same method from here. So again, the light's on, so that signifies that it's online. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. And now we're able to lift up our legs. I can just pull that right out and go ahead and load our third color. So again, we just take our color, and you can feed it either way. Doesn't matter if you feed it from the back or from the front. You can use these rulers on the right here to help line up your design, and then again, we're just going to clamp those back down. Use the arrows to bring it back up, and then just hold Origin Set. You'll see these lights pop up, and then we can go back online. Alright, so now we can take our third color. So again, as long as you know what vinyl color you're loading, it doesn't matter what piece we take. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the middle one, drag it down to our Great Cuts, and then we're just going to drop that right in there, rotate 90 degrees. Read our material. Unless you're working with different materials, the pressure and the speed really aren't going to change. You just want to make sure you read the material just so you have a big enough width. Other than that, we should be fine. And then once we hit read material, just output, and then we'll go ahead and let that cut. Alright, so now we can just do our final cut. So we're just going to, again, just drag that down, go to our grade cuts, just go ahead and drop that in there, delete our old one, rotate. Again, everything's going to stay the same except our read material. You'll see that change a little, and then we can just hit output. Alright, so now let's take a look at how easy these distress lines are to weed. I know it looks like a lot when we do the design, but once we're able to actually weed these out, so let's go ahead on the weed box. For the most part, it should be a nice, easy rip. And I know with some vinyls, it might leave a little couple pieces behind. And that's not, it's okay with this kind of look because it is like a distressed look. So even if it does forget a little piece here and there, you're most likely not even going to be able to tell. Alright, so when we're laying the 4 color, it's best to either just start at the top or bottom. Before that though, you can just go ahead and line up your design. So we're just going to kind of layer each color just to see how it's going to line up. So once we have our design lined up like that, we can just kind of take our 3 colors from the bottom, pull those out, and then we can just go ahead and start pressing these one by one. Alright, so once we got our first color down, we'll just go ahead and cover it up. Now since we're doing a 4 color press, the first one's only going to be about 2 or 3 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and the next one we'll do 2 or 3 seconds again, and then the last one we'll finally do about a 10-second press. So once that's down, we're just going to slowly make sure that no vinyl comes up, and if it doesn't, we're good. And then we'll just slowly start layering our next color. So again, it's just another 2 to 3 second press. Two or 3 seconds again. Finally, our last color is going to get about a 10-second press. Just like that, we have our 4 color press, our nice distressed look. It turned out pretty good.